Ms. Frederick here. Ms. Buckley.
Present.
Ms. Roscoe here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
You all right? Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's really rolling now.
Mr. Carr, are there any changes in the agenda?
Yes, I want to add under items of interest, item 7 will be the K-16 march on June 21st. And then I'd like item 8, a brief executive session. There'll be no action as a result of this executive session. We need to talk about an item or two.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I would like to make a motion that we accept the agenda with the changes.
Support. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Approval of our previous meeting minutes. May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 23rd meeting.
Support.
Any questions on the minutes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carried. Thank you. Superintendent Carr.
Mr. Clark, personnel actions, please.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Members of the board, we have several personnel actions for you tonight. The first is a motion is needed by the board to accept retirement of personnel as submitted. Ms. Rosalie Berlin, Gloria Harvey, Mary Mahan, and Jeannie Voigt.
I would like to make recommendation to accept the personnel retirements that are provided.
Support.
Questions?
Just one question. Were any of these retirements a part of the buyout?
They all were a part of the union buyout.
Okay,
yes.
that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Any further questions?
Uh,
Mr. Minkiewicz?
Are any of these positions positions that we wouldn't have to fill?
Ms. Berlin's position will not be filled. Gloria Harvey's position is not going to be filled. It's going to be a split position because we're reducing our custodial staff. Mrs. Mahan's position as a bus driver will have to be filled, and Mrs. Voigt's position will be filled by one of our current existing security staff at the high school.
Okay.
Any further questions?
So there'll be a reduction.
Oh, and
So it's gonna be-
security. It's gonna be
everybody's
a
just
reduction.
moving up.
Okay,
sorry.
that was going to be my question.
Any further questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carried. Thank you.
Okay. Our next personnel action, a motion is needed by the board to accept resignation of personnel as submitted. Ms. Sharon Hall.
You say Linda Handyside. Somebody else?
Lisa.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
we'll go
there's-
to the leave of
Yeah,
absence.
just,
Okay, I skipped one.
Okay.
Leave of absence, Mrs. Handyside.
Okay.
Child care leave from Romulus Middle School. She's our mathematics teacher.
I would like to make a motion.
Support.
any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, thank you. Motion carried.
And our last one is Mrs. Hall. Is a resignation. Mrs. Hall is a special education teacher from Romulus High School. Last day of work was June 17th, or will be June 17th.
I'll make the motion that
Support.
we accept the
Resignation.
resignation.
I support it.
Okay, any questions?
That position will be filled, right?
Yes, it will be.
Okay, that was it.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion
Thank you.
carried. Thank you.
Mr. Ruthier, you've got several items.
Yes, I do. Superintendent Carr, President Buckley, members of the Board of Education. The first item that we're asking for approval from the board deals with the payment of bills. We have 6 registers totaling $878,909.77.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the bills for payment as provided.
Support.
Any question on the bill? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item we have is the summer tax levy. The motion is required by the board to adopt the millage as presented. It would be 8 mills homestead and 21.21 mills on non-homestead. I might also add that this is consistent with last year. We will come back in the early fall, probably in September, and ask the board to adopt the winter levy as well. If in your summer millage levy packet, the sheet before the summary sheet of all the multiple years that we've disclosed for you has 2004 winter levy. My apologies, that should not have been included. That should have been excluded, and I apologize for any confusion that may have created.
Our intent is to operate on the same tax levy as we had in the 405 year for the opposite year.
That's correct.
Okay, and I need a motion, please.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to adopt the Finance Committee's recommended levy for the 2005 summer tax.
Support.
Any questions?
I just have one question. On here, if you look on the back from 2004-2005 school year to the current year, the 2005-2006, under the property taxes, it says 8.99, and then under the debt levy, it says 7. And the subtotal shows 18.99, and I'm confused because the year before it only shows the 15.99.
So is that a typo?
Typo.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so there was no increase.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. Then the next item is a recommendation or a motion by the board to accept the Finance Committee's recommendation to borrow $1.4 million to meet cash flow needs for actually it'd be for the month of September. For the information of the board, the last time that we borrowed for cash flow was in May of '96. And at that time, we borrowed $3.4 million. It's a cycle that's quite often hard to break once you start it, but unfortunately, the state in its divine wisdom only pays us 11 state aid payments. There aren't 12, and September's the month that's missing in this picture. Also, if the board will recall, we've had considerable reduction in our fund balance over the last 4 years approximately. We've gone from roughly $8.5 million to $1.2 million for this year. That has a considerable negative impact on our ability to hold on to money and to use the money to meet our payroll needs. So consequently, we have these timing issues. It doesn't mean that we're not managing appropriately. It just means that for 1 month here, our outflows are much greater than our inflows. And so consequently, we need to have board approval to borrow this $1.4 million. We will be packaged up, if you will, by the bond authority, along with all the other schools that are in for this August borrowing. And we'll report back to the board at a later date as to what that rate of interest is. It's usually quite good because we have the backing of the state of Michigan on this, as well as our own favorable rating. These funds will not be payable until August of 2006, so there's considerable time to pay this money back, and it's unfortunate, but sometimes it's just the cost of doing business, and unfortunately, because we are so strapped for cash, we have to petition that we have some relief in terms of cash flow borrowing.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I would like to make a motion that we borrow the money. We need it.
Support.
Are there any questions? Ms. Ruthier? Ms. Freer?
I just have one question. Who are we borrowing the money from?
Well, they'll have people that will bid on the proceeds. In all likelihood, it's usually a bank, but we won't know that until they actually sell the issue, and people will bid on this, and whoever has the favorable rate will win. And again, we'll come back to the Board of Education with the rate as well as who is providing the proceeds.
We'll be going through the Michigan Municipal Bond Authority, which is an authority run by the state that packages these in a huge bundle. And many years ago, we used to borrow and we go out and just bid the note ourselves, and we had 3 or 4 banks bid on it versus
It does help to minimize the cost as well. If we were running this issue ourselves, we'd have the cost of issuance, but when they package it up through the bond authority, all the people in that bond issue or who's selling on that day sharing the cost, so it reduces the cost and it's a much more favorable way to do it.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 10-0, thanks.
Thank you.
The budget report,
Oh, I'm sorry. The last item I have is indeed the budget, the final revisions for the vocational education program, food service, athletics, and debt. I did have conversations with the Finance Committee, and a recommendation or a motion would be required by the board to adopt these revisions. If I might take the first one, which is the vocational education budget. I'm giving you a comparison of 3 years, starting in the year 2002-03 through 2004-05. It's the last column, the 2004-05, that I'm requesting that the board adopt. The significant piece of this is the general fund transfer. This is a self-balancing set of books, if you will. The vocational fund, if not self-sufficient, needs to be subsidized by the general fund. And then the second line under revenue, under state aid, says general fund transfer. Those are the monies that were actually transferred in 2002-03, 03-04, and the proposed amount for 2004-05 is the $400,166. We in effect make, by this budget transfer, it balances revenue so that equal expenditures, there isn't any fund balance. These are all the vocational programs that Mr. Mushroom runs through his office or through his area. Would include auto shop, culinary arts, and those kinds of things. The next page, if you will, is a combination of three. The first column being food service, the second athletics, and the third is community service. And for the information of the board, the primary component of community service is the Latchkey program. If you read across at the bottom, you can see that food service is really the fund that shows profitability or the lack thereof. The other two, athletics and community service, again, are self-balancing by way of a transfer from the general fund. There is some fluctuations in the amounts that are transferred with athletics, and of course that has to do with how successful our students are with respect to athletic events. Obviously, the better we do, the more programs that we have an opportunity to collect gate receipts on, and thereby usually it reduces the amount of general fund subsidy. There is some adjustment in the 2004-05 year with respect to that, in the additional gate receipts, but also there's some reduction in the cost of the athletic director, which would be less and therefore require less of a subsidy from the general fund. Food service from this shows that the food service department is doing well. We anticipate them to continue to do well. We are buying some equipment through the cafeteria that would allow us to have an additional serving line, if you will, on portable carts. And we're trying to come up with creative ideas that will help our offerings, and especially at the high school, so that these programs or the food service operation is much more attractive and would be more of an interest to our students. The key item that I need to bring to your attention is in the last column of 2004-05, the community service. It's reflecting an $88,300 deficit. This is primarily has to do with latchkey. We have a problem, or I'm sorry, My Friends and Me. We have some problems with collections, as well as the program not being sufficient or supporting enough to cover all of our labor costs. If the board will recall, last year there was an increase, but we knew at the time in the fees that it wasn't sufficient enough to cover our costs. However, we did anticipate that it would be a little more favorable than it has been. This is of concern to us. Obviously, we can't run a program that's in deficit. However, absent raising the fees, this services 15 to 20 students in our kindergarten program. They're in at halftime. So we need to, while I'm trying to make you aware of this, we need to cautiously move through as to what our remedies may be. If we were to end the program and lose 15 students, that could be a considerable sum of money. So I'm not making that recommendation to you. My only purpose in this is to make you aware that there is a problem, and we will work through Mr. Musham and Mr. Carr relative to how to best resolve this so that we can get a handle on this so that we can control this cost. Obviously, we don't want it to get any worse than it is, and hopefully have some improvement. If we do have an increase in fees, then we will come back to the Board of Education at a later date to approve that increase. Are there any questions on that before I move on? Yes?
I had a question you were just talking about in terms of collecting fees for services. Has the current policy been looked at in terms of how long a child can be enrolled in the program and not pay? Is there some way that they could look at that and that be adjusted in the time frame to cut down?
Yes.
Because that might be some of it too. If you let parents go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, they're in the rear 2, 3 months. They never catch up.
I know of people that have gone a year and not paid.
You know, so.
It's terrible.
And you need,
It's
if you
terrible.
really, truly need the service and you continue to go to work, I think, you know, and I don't know if we
We-
have anything to do
We've
with
had an
that.
operational problem in terms of the leadership and having things function as we need them in a business-like fashion. And we're gonna be reviewing all of that, and we will be back to you.
Okay. All right.
And then the last one, the recommendation from the board would be to adopt the debt retirement budget. I did come to you earlier in the year, back in June or so, and this is finalization of that. Normally, once is sufficient. However, we had some problems with our debt schedules, and so consequently, our principal and interest was at variance with actual, and I wanted to make sure this tied out. So I wanted to come back to the board and make a recommendation for a change, which I have, and that is included in this revision. For the information of the board, no, this is our debt levy. This is a part of that 7 mills that you just voted on earlier. This includes all the interest and principal payments that we make on an annual or a fiscal year basis, along with any banking and related fees. And all of this is scheduled out in the back end of the audit report, which you'll receive, in October, and that you would have received last year.
Okay, I need a motion, please.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we accept the report from the Finance Committee to adopt the budget.
Support.
Are there any questions?
I have
White.
question, Mr. Root there.
Mhm.
Under revenues where it says delinquent, I guess I'm assuming that that's delinquent tax. Is
Yes,
that a negative number?
no, that's
Okay.
extra money that we collect
Okay, so why is it called delinquent?
because it's paid delinquently to us.
Okay,
It's
Thanks.
not current, so therefore it's delinquent.
thanks for that clarification. It just looks kind of weird.
No.
All right.
Any other questions? Motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Dolan.
Thank you, Mr. Carr, President Buckley, members of the board. Tonight we have with us Tom Plum. Tom has been the founder and coordinator of our supplemental tutoring program. As Ken and Betty were there when Tom was awarded that trophy at the Michigan School Board Association for the tutoring program. It's one of the few tutoring programs in Wayne County that is successful. It was cited in the Detroit News about a month ago. Tom's done a lot with a little, and he's here to explain how our tutoring is coordinated with the Boys and Girls Club. Tom.
Thank you. I do have some handouts, but I'm going to talk over them. I don't know if you want them beforehand or at the end.
No, Tom, I don't think that mic is on.
I don't think it's on either.
Your time up.
Now it is.
Yeah.
Thank you again. Okay, the tutoring
excellence.
program. I'm sorry, I'll wait.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much. We're
Okay.
ready.
The tutoring program that I'll be describing is basically it's called the 21st Century Community Learning Center program. We've added of Romulus in that because there's a number of the 21st century programs around the state. The program originally was a federal grant, 3-year grant, and at the end of 3 years we had resources left over from the grant, so we extended it to the 4th year, and that's when I started working on the program 3 years ago. After the 4th year, we ran out of funding, and in order to fund the program, we enrolled with the Department of Education to become a supplemental service provider under No Child Left Behind under federal legislation. Supplemental service providers working under Title I provide supplemental services, which are basically tutoring services, to students who are low-income students attending schools that have not met their annual yearly progress. For the past couple years, in order to assure that we can provide tutoring services to the students, in addition to those from the one school that we had, elementary school, WIC, that did not make their annual yearly progress, we established the program under Title I funds, which supplemental services and No Child Left Behind are also funded under. So the program in this past year, the handout, is what's going to be a year-end report that I'll be giving to Mr. Dolan. The only thing that's not included in that is the final grade analysis, because the 4th quarter grades don't come out until this Friday, and they'll be worked out next year, or next week, I mean. I have included a brief mention in the report about the grade analysis that we had last year in the program, just to give you an example of what we'll see. I am going to briefly go over some of the outcomes and the magnitude of the program. Are there any questions at this point? We understand pretty much what we're talking about here? Okay. The program starts in early October every year and ends in the middle of May. We end it early in May for 2 reasons. One is it helps keep our budget within lines. We save a couple pay periods in there. And secondly, students don't want to be attending tutoring during the last couple weeks of school when the weather's nice and when final exams are coming up. It just, their focus on tutoring is diminished at that time. This year we provided tutoring to 113 students. That was 1-to-1 tutoring. Primarily, a few students are given 2-to-1 tutoring, meaning 2 students and 1 tutor, depending on the student need and the tutor's own opinions regarding that. We also added a group tutoring program for math to an additional 51 students. So in total, that's right around 170 students or thereabouts. Each student in the 1-to-1 tutoring program received on average about 30 sessions of tutoring a year. They receive tutoring from 2 to 4 times a week, and sessions are about 45 minutes long, or exactly 45 minutes long. And in total, the 113 students that I previously mentioned received 3,316 individual tutoring sessions. The tutoring is provided by employees who we contract with, part-time contracts, hourly contracts. We have about 20 tutors this year. The minimum requirement for a tutor is that they've had completed 2 years of college, and many of our tutors are indeed college students in their second or their third or fourth year of college. Some of our tutors are retired certified teachers. Others are student teachers, and quite a few substitute teachers. All of the students who receive reading tutoring, all the tutors who who provide the tutoring, go through our body phonics program, which Tom made reference to, and it's the program that we received the award for. There's a program developed by Chris Gonzalez, who's a special ed teacher at Wick Elementary School, and who has a long history of developing this program on teaching phonics to children. Our outcomes have been exceptional. I'm going to get to those here briefly here in a few minutes. We should mention that this past year we received 194 parental requests for tutoring, and that's up over the past 2 years, 76%. Prior to that, we received 110 requests for tutoring. As a result of the fact that we enrolled 121 students, there were 73 students at the end of the year who still remained on a waiting list. We targeted those students who had the greatest academic need first, and there were about 38 students who were identified at the end of the year of having a high need for tutoring that remained on the list. So we're doing everything we can in order to provide services to all the students on the list, but the requests keep on going up, and our budget has not been able to expand at that same rate. Okay, any questions up to this point? I'll talk about just briefly on a few of the outcomes. Our best research outcome is that having to do with reading, both because of the body phonics program and a long-standing pre- and post-test functions that we've given to the students taking this program. The average student entering our reading tutoring program is ranked under the Woodcock Reading Mastery Test as being below average as compared to their classmates, and this is a nationally standardized test. At the end of a year's tutoring, the average student in our program has caught up with their peers and has now become an average reading student. And that's a pretty dramatic difference. We have on the single page handout that you have is it's sort of a technical ranking of our reading tutoring from 1991 through the present year. And I'll talk briefly about what the standard scores mean and what the changes in them are. In analyzing the students taking reading tutoring, each student on average received a rate of 1.66 standard scores per month increase in their reading skills. And what that is that is 3 times the rate that's considered good. A 0.5% increase per month is considered good, and they're at 1.66, 3 times the 0.5. And 60% greater than the rate that is considered excellent, which is a 1 point standard scores per month increase. We're very proud of that outcome. Chris is very proud, and I think the reason why we received the award had a lot to do with the actual measured outcomes that we've had in that test. And in general, the students receiving our tutoring, both in reading and in math, do catch up with their peers at the end of the year. In grades, I mentioned earlier that we had analyzed grades up through last year, and in a couple of weeks we'll have it done this year. But in general, in grades, the students entered our program with a D plus average, and at the last marking period, the average student had a C minus average. So they went from essentially failing to essentially being average. We'd give a parent satisfaction surveys, and parents gave us all sorts of the statements. 100% of the parents felt their students were doing better in school because of tutoring, every single one of the 32 that submitted the form. And 94% said they considered enrolling their student in tutoring next year. We give surveys to all the teachers who are the primary teachers, the students referred to our tutoring program, and 88% of the teachers said that their tutoring had helped this individual student do better academically in class. Our student satisfaction survey, 93% of the students said that they enjoyed being tutored, and 85% of the students said they are doing better in school since starting tutoring. I'm just picking one or two out for each of the outcome indicators, obviously. Our tutor satisfaction survey, when asked how the tutors would rate their experience, on a 10-point scale, tutors indicated that 9.3 out of a 10-point scale was their feelings of their experience tutoring. The MEP test, at this point in time, we haven't analyzed it again at the end of this year, but in general, in looking at the MEP scores from last year, the average fourth grade student who had taken the MEP test had indeed failed the MEP test, which really indicated to us that the appropriate students were receiving tutoring. The tutoring program itself is provided after school from 3:30, between 3:30 and 6:30 at Merriman and Wick Elementary Schools. The reason why we have it at Merriman and Wick is, as you know, the Boys and Girls Club programs are both at those two schools, and we're able to work together exceedingly well. Many of the students will enroll in the Boys and Girls Club so they can take the bus after school from their own school, if it's not Wick or Merriman, go to the Boys and Girls Club, wait for the scheduled tutoring time to occur, be tutored, finish their tutoring, go back to the Boys and Girls Club, and then their parent or parents can come and pick them up at their leisure. For students who aren't members of the Boys and Girls Club, the parents will have to bring them to tutoring and then come back and pick them up in 45 minutes. Some of the kids stay after school, so the parent just picks them up at the end of the first session after school. We also are able to work together with the Compass tutoring program, which is a computerized tutoring program at both Wick and Merriman School, and we work together and trying not to duplicate students, actually, or if we do duplicate, provide tutoring to the same students, have it for a reason, those students that need extra work. We're very, very, very proud of the program. It continues on. We hope to be able to provide it next year under the Title I budget.
This program is entirely funded by Title I.
Is this the program that we received home from our students that said we were offering tutoring to those students who had like a teacher recommendation? Is that what you take first, is like teacher recommendation students, and then if there's room, just regular?
Fill out a form.
Yeah, the letter should have said that the parents can submit a request for tutoring. I forget if there was wording in there about consulting with the primary teacher about it, but it's really a referral from the parent. We send that out every September in order to get the list that we work from, in order to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Now we do, as we are a supplemental service provider, we have to provide tutoring to all the students in the school that hasn't made their AYP first, and so the WIC students had priority over all other students until we serviced all of the WIC students, and then we went to the waiting list.
The good news is that through Tom's efforts and the school's efforts, we didn't have one school that didn't make AYP this year. All of our schools made AYP. unfortunately, if every school makes it AYP, we're not mandated to provide this service any longer. So that's the downside of it. If we don't provide the tutoring, we'll have schools not making AYP again next year. So we're
Right.
gonna look at, see if we can continue to provide it through Title I funding. I think we should be able to. I couldn't imagine this community existing without the tutoring program. It's our only resource for a lot of these kids
Right.
after school.
Absolutely.
Well, the cost is actually kicked back to the parents, right?
No, there's no cost to parents.
There's set-aside money in Title I
Gotcha.
for transportation and for tutoring.
It's a nice deal for parents because, as Tom indicated, they go to the Boys and Girls Club. They provide the structure, they're tutored there. I mean, the tutoring is, real exclusive one-on-one, and obviously the results are showing that. But it's, we believe it's essential for some of our kids.
Yes, we should be clear, there is no charge directly to parents.
I might have been thinking of summer school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's where you probably.
I seen something.
It's a great program. Any other questions, board members? Okay, thank you, Tom. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Tom.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Just with the summer school, we aren't having it. We didn't have enough requests
Oh, we're not having summer school?
for elementary.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was
Good
wondering.
job, T-Plum.
Okay, communications and expressions from the public.
Wow.
I see now.
Holy.
Okay.
Hold on a second. They're rolling in the door.
Superintendent Carr?
Doing such a good job.
Items of interest are self-explanatory except the March 21st March on Lansing.
March 20.
June.
June 21st.
21st.
Let's not go backwards now.
Let's not go back.
How do you
The
come up
June
with March?
21st March on Lansing for adequate
Oh, that's what it is.
March.
funding
March.
for education in Michigan.
Yeah.
We've had notification, and we've worked closely with some of the organizations that are putting this together, the main one being the K-16 Coalition. And the idea is that people will go to Lansing and spend a couple of hours letting our legislators know that the public is serious about getting the law changed so that public education receives its fair share and a fair share of increases in order to maintain our academic programs. What we're planning on doing, there are no buses available at this point in time from any of the private sources that have been taken up by many, many other groups long, long ago. And school buses are not permitted to be involved in this. What we're planning on doing, though, is on June 21st, Tuesday morning, a meeting at the high school at approximately 10 o'clock. And we will carpool, and we may also get one smart bus that might be available for us to take the Romulus contingent to Lansing for this demonstration. We'd start at approximately 10 in the morning and go till 4 or 4:30 in the afternoon. It'd be just a nominal charge to share gasoline for the smart bus and whatever arrangements we work out on carpool. I can put a few people in my car, and I won't charge, trust me. I'm sure there are others that will do the same, but we look forward to going to Lansing, and we expect 5,000 to 10,000 people to be there from across the state to let the legislature know that we are serious and that we need to have a change to support public education. There's an impending election coming up, and part of what's going on is one of the detractors of public education has announced that he's going to run for governor, Mr. DeVos from the Amway Corporation. He's going to spend a lot of money to try to become our next governor. If that occurs, we're going to have some very, very difficult times in public education, more difficult than the times we're having now. So we need to get to Lansing. We need to impress upon our legislators that it's mandatory to provide adequate funding and a funding source for our public schools. So please come and participate. Principals and others will be getting a hold of individuals. We encourage you to come and join us on that morning. We'll have you bring a packaged lunch, and there will be water available. Bring a lunch, because there will be so many people, there won't be a place to go and eat lunch other than outside or picnicking, whatever. But please bring your picnic lunch. There will be water available, and rest stations will be available. Join us in Lansing, and let's give them the business.
Okay. Questions and concerns of board members? Claire?
Yes, do you happen to know when our food service is up again?
It would renew in July.
Okay, are we gonna renew that again, or can we take a look at that time?
Yes,
Because
we
I don't know
are.
about anybody else, but I'm still getting quite a few complaints. More than what I really care to hear about.
From
Getting
everybody?
a lot.
Or is it from one school?
About the food
Or is
service.
it just, yeah.
Is it one
right.
school or is it
That-
several
It's,
schools?
it's the food.
But I mean, is it from
Oh.
one school or is it like
Right, that's-
several
No,
of the
it's
schools that are?
several locations, they serve the same food.
They're saying, she's saying it's food.
Nobody else is having a hard time with this
Mm-mm.
at all?
No,
I hear
I've
from
heard-
high
They
school
got
and
some
I've,
computerized
Only one
cards or
school.
something.
Yeah.
Is that,
I've heard good things so far, so.
they're moving to computers or something?
It's a point-of-sale system
Yeah.
where they now scan cards with a barcode.
Mhm.
Our entire system.
And I heard that takes way, way too long.
Well, it does the first time or two, but thereafter, it's much quicker. And it's,
Well, they
On
just
it-
started the end of this year, right?
yes,
So next
it's
year will
new
really
this
be the
year.
first.
Yes, it's,
kickoff.
it's new this year.
Some schools just started at the end, just now implemented it. They're
Yes.
doing like a test run.
That's
So
correct.
with anything you do though, you have to pilot it to see how it works.
the high school had a transition period, but most of the kids there, I mean, they're accepting it and going through. I haven't heard any complaints from a lot of the
Yeah.
students.
I guess my,
Well, before we sign another contract, though,
Junior high.
that it would come back to us first, right?
The board has the option to extend up to 4 additional years.
Okay.
I guess, and I'm glad you brought it up, but I guess my thought on it is if we keep changing every year, somebody gonna complain every year, so we just gonna keep hopping around to food
Yeah.
service providers. Before, it was a management issue that we were having, and it seems like we've kind of worked the bugs out of that. So maybe the concerns can be expressed to the food distributor and work on it that end. But we need, we didn't want our employees to be treated badly last year, which was the problem before. But if it's just a menu selection or a preparation thing, maybe that's something that we could work out on this end. Because again, if we just keep jumping,
I think we need some stability on that.
Right.
Yeah,
service
exactly.
So,
Operation.
I don't know if there are any companies left out there. I mean, we've gone through 2 or 3 here, and
That's
there's not
right.
that many.
I know.
Yes, we've gone through 3.
The company that we had when Teresa McCann was with us, we've been with them for a number of years, and she was a good leader. She had a stroke, and from that time on, we
Yeah.
had to go through this continuous readjustment, and now we've got a stable situation. And we need to work through these other issues, and we will do that.
And we are, Ms. Frere, we've met with the union, there have been issues, this last week. We have, meetings scheduled for in the future, yet this week, and we're trying to resolve these issues. Quite frankly, the interaction with most of the local 64 staff has been favorable. There's gonna be issues from time to time because of the sheer volume of meals and things that get served.
I understand it's in the
There is a
preparation. from what I
great
hear.
deal of consistency because we've been through 3 companies, as it's been stated, in 3 years, so it's tremendous. That's really a disadvantage for our employees as well, to keep changing.
Ms. Lanasi?
Well, I think Naomi, I don't think she's done, are you?
I just had another a question. Do our cooks go through any kind of QI, quality improvement, or is it once you're a cook, you're just a cook and you're just a cook, or are they ever retrained? Because I think a lot of it has to do with food preparation issues. You know, just like we train our teachers and they have in-services, maybe they can have some type of refresher just because you've been doing it for 25 years. Maybe you're tired, you know, things like that. So maybe
There
the
are
QI
issues-
part of it.
There are issues relative to Serve Safe, which are requirements by the health department, that there is training in, and we do in service our staff members, in particular with that. And there's ongoing things. When we upgrade equipment, there will be training. Because of MIOSHA, there was training. If you'll recall, MIOSHA made a site visitation last year, and there was training issues that were dealt with. So there is ongoing training and workshops on a pretty consistent basis. As you know or may not know, and I apologize if I didn't mention it earlier, every 5 years, schools are subject to audit in the area of food service. This last week, I believe, we had an audit Tuesday and Wednesday, and the results of that were very, very good. We received favorable comments from the state auditor, so we went through that whole process and came out very well as a result of it. And it wasn't only with the help of our staff, but also the Chartwell folks as well. So there's a good blend here.
Ms. Lanasi?
Yeah, thank you. Bill, are you going to do the same thing at the junior high that they did at the senior high with, they make their own,
Yes.
put together their own food or whatever it is? When are they going to start something like that, or maybe this would help?
They're coming to us on a pretty regular basis. I have meetings with them at least once a month, and they're trying to introduce new ideas and concepts throughout the district, not just at the secondary level, but in the elementary and
Yeah, okay.
but primarily at
That's-
the
I
high
was gonna ask
school.
that.
There's going to be some changes made in the very near future. Now it will be in the fall. There had to be some equipment purchases, and I wouldn't move forward without knowing that there was some profitability in food service,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to tap into the general fund. Now that we know that, and they have a roughly $300,000 fund balance, there's some latitude that we can take with respect to replacing some equipment so that they'll have greater opportunities to move through lines, and we'll make sure that the middle school is included with any upgrades as well.
The only other thing I have to say is I was impressed with the school, the high school, how it looked on the outside. I was very happy to see that it had been maintained for
Yes.
our parents coming in and grandparents, et cetera. It looked very, very
Yes,
nice.
there was a push by a lot of people to make that occur.
Yeah.
There really was, and we
Well,
really
they've been
do,
working on it.
especially during graduation and prom. I mean, we should be doing our best to have curb appeal and put our best foot forward.
Ms. Freer, then Ms. Cooter.
I just wanted to know if we could get with Steve and Steve. In the Merriman Star, there was a sheet in here that has interactive websites for kids to go on to. And what I noticed in looking at all of these was there's one particular website that I make my kids log on to all the time, aplusmath.com, and it has helped them tremendously. So I was wondering if we could actually get this put on our channel 19, is it? For the parents to look over, and maybe some of the kids that are just sitting home playing video games could log online and log on to one of these helpful, websites to help them for school next year. I think the parents would really dig this, and I think the kids would too, and it's educational.
Did you notice they can interact with Compass as well? Did you notice that?
Right, So
We
I
can-
think this would be good. Can we rip this out and give it to Steve and Steve?
Well, we'll talk to Mr. Horn.
Okay,
Yeah, it'll
I
be
would
his
like mine to go
responsibility
home.
to get that on the website.
Okay.
Tom?
A couple things. One, Mr. Ruthier, the lights in the auditorium, the main lights, they weren't flashing when we were there for the dance concert, but the stage lights weren't working. Do you got any input on that, or?
This has been an ongoing problem that I thought had been corrected. I think some of that has been resolved. I just today received a proposal to spend a fair amount of money to once and for all fix all of the problems that have been ongoing in the auditorium.
Wasn't the auditorium just redone just recently, or wasn't the electrical?
We spent a lot of money with curtains, all the seating, painting. We did all the cosmetic kinds of things, but what we didn't do was devote energy toward revisiting everything was there and making sure that all of the wiring was correct. And we really do have some issues that have been ongoing for 12 years that we really just have been brought to our attention that we're working on. And I can assure the Board of Education that this summer that will all be corrected, and we have been investigating this, and now we've have a pretty thorough approach to solving all the problems that have been ongoing after talking to several of the staff members at the high school.
I just got two, well, really one of the things, got two issues. We got a fax about two students that were injured over at the junior high. One was apparently playing baseball and the other one was track.
Right.
Yes.
Can anybody give us an update of that?
Both students were transported to the hospital and were treated and are fine and were released by the doctors.
Okay, so this one that was in a neck brace, I was just concerned about that one too, because sometimes it is minute, but you gotta be concerned. So they were released the same day and sent
Same
home,
day.
right? Great.
Anything else?
Madam Chairman?
Ken's last.
Okay, Ken.
One thing I wanted to bring up about the auditorium, I don't think we should be renting it the last couple of weeks of June here. It was rented, I know, on Friday to an outside group. Thursday night, we have community high graduation. Saturday morning, we had high school graduation. Everybody's stretched thin on doing work, and then all of a sudden, we've got an outside group coming in using the auditorium. The other thing I'd like to mention about the auditorium is I think we need to charge more. The group that was in there Friday night flat out said that they pushed to get it because we were charging $500, and for them to go to New Boston, Huron, or to Belleville, it was going to be a couple thousand. So I just think those are some things we need to look at as far as late in the year, not renting it out, and then maybe increasing our rent for those.
The last time we did that was round of charges many moons ago, and they were high at the time. But time has passed us by, and that should review that.
Well, we did re-look at some of the charges last year on, I don't know what committee that I sat on last year with Bill Mushin, and we were adjusting some, things
that
for
last
the
year.
pool, for the spaces and stuff like that, so there was a little bit of an increase.
Well, today's a little bit of a different thing. The finance being as they are, for us to be subsidizing it all is really not acceptable. We've got to make sure that something covers the entire cost of using the facility and generate some money to do it. So it's time probably to do it again. I do need an executive session.
Okay, I have a few things, but.
I got one
whenever
more
anybody's
quick one.
finished.
We have high school, or in all of our schools, we have custodians. Once they're in the building, who is in charge of them? Is it the principal that's in charge? Because I've been getting some feedback that, number one, the auditorium is not getting cleaned properly, and the swimming pool area is not getting cleaned properly. And then I start hearing about
Bathrooms.
some of the custodians maybe aren't spending a full day of working time, and I think our principals need to get out and about and start checking into it if they're the ones that are going to be in charge of them.
Cutting.
It's actually a shared responsibility with Mr. Morris and the principal. It depends on which building, but a lot of the time, the principal is the immediate contact and the person that does most of the guidance, if you will, the direction. That doesn't mean that Mr. Morris doesn't, but a lot of times it is the principal because Mr. Morris is removed. He does make site visitations. He does get out a great deal, but the most of the time it's the principal on site that is given the direction.
I think maybe we need to enforce that because the things I'm hearing, like I say about the auditorium, somebody had to go in there Friday night and dust mop the floor because it was so bad, but yet what I'm gathering is that the person who should have done that work didn't do it, and there's been some talk that that person, hangs around in the custodial area a little bit too much. And I just think we need to look at it.
Anything else?
No, I'll stop for today.
Okay.
I'm running out of paper
Okay.
here.
Ms. Ross, do you have anything before
No,
I
I
start?
don't.
Okay, a few things. We need to talk about our moving up ceremonies. Tomorrow, on Tuesday, we have Corey and Merriman. Betty's already asked me for Corey, so.
I'll do Merriman.
Okay, Tom. Okay, on Wednesday, we have Hell Creek, Romel, and Wick. Betty's doing, she's down for Romel, and Celeste is gonna do Wick, but
I'm
anybody
gonna
can
go to
do.
Rom L too and probably to Corey myself, those two. So I'll just,
Okay. And Thursday, we have Barth, so.
Everybody can do
Yeah.
Barth.
Well,
Ken, are you gonna do, which ones are you gonna do?
Well, I was just looking
Ken's
at,
got ones during the day.
Wick Elementary has something going on tomorrow, an honors assembly at 9:30, so I was thinking I could make that.
Okay.
And then,
Romel's got one too, don't they?
There's a couple of them.
Yeah, they are.
that's moving up,
Because
and
they
Wick's
didn't do
moving
them.
up.
If he does the morning ones, we can do the night ones.
Yeah.
I usually go to the Wick moving up. I can do that one. I can probably do Thursday at Barth as well. You know, make as many as I can, but I know it's hard for most people to make the day one, so I'll definitely try and make the Wick one tomorrow morning.
Well, if you can do the day, we can cover the night.
Okay.
So I'll just fill in wherever. April, what do you wanna do?
I'm gonna go, oh yeah, all three, I just don't know which one.
Okay, well,
Somebody
we
better
have
call
them
her.
covered, so,
Yeah, they look covered.
okay. A couple other things is our next board meeting, school will be out, so we can go to our casual dress.
Oh.
She's
Mr. Dolan,
very
excuse me, you had
efficient.
something to say earlier, did you want to say
I
something?
did, I had
Oh,
some
would you
good
put
news
on?
that,
I'm
but
sorry.
you go
But you
ahead,
already
I'll
knew.
talk
Okay,
again.
all right, I'll be done in one second. Another thing is, we have several initiatives. This is the end of the school year, so I know we have minutes from the climate committee, but if everyone can kind of give us a little update on the initiative that you sit on in our next board meeting, just kind of what's going on in the year stuff, or if there's anything going on, I would appreciate it.
So our,
All right, Mr. Clark.
we're all done with our,
Just wait.
Okay, I've got the
Mr. Clark,
climate,
you
but kind
give
of.
us some.
So, Celeste, I don't know if anything's going on with healthy living. I'm not sure about technology, what's going on with that. If there's nothing going on, there's nothing going on.
Not right now, they're done.
Okay, so they're,
Pretty
climate's
much,
done
I think pretty
too,
much all of them are done.
so everything's done, but, so we didn't,
except personnel.
so there's nothing earth-shattering that we need to know that the initiatives came out of any of the initiatives?
Just
Okay.
to help the
Tell you
healthy
about
living
our
community would
progress
like to
over
come in
the
and
year.
She
We've
said
been
except
Really
personnel.
busy.
Okay, so you had a lot of progress over the year. Okay, all right, okay.
We gotta do executive session.
Yeah, I know, there's a couple other things. Wait a minute. You guys don't be rushing me.
So you got all your schools covered,
Yes, we do have our schools covered. Something else.
I'm a floater.
Oh,
Mr. Dolan.
Tom, I asked you about,
You can come
having to
running
give
with
an
your pink
update about
purse,
the
April.
intervention, whatever they do at the high school, the discipline. Are we gonna have that review before,
We can,
I would like to,
next board meeting?
Yes,
yes, please.
tell them how they stuff together.
And, one other thing, next year, with the Healthy Living Committee desperately needs parents to be on their committee, so if there are any parents out there interested, you can call Pat McCullum. She is at
Merriman.
Merriman, right. She is.
She's the phys ed
Going to be
teacher.
the
Yeah, she's a good lady.
new chair. Sheila Stazak will no longer be the chair for that.
She did a great job. Some great news. We had two schools. As you know, we get our report cards. And the preliminary results came back. They won't be official to August. But I thought, since you're going around to all the schools, you would like to know that two of our schools received A's. Those schools are Rommel and Wick.
Really?
Wow.
Which, for Wick, who was in the doldrums, it was a at-risk school 4 years ago, to go all the way to our highest performing school is quite an accomplishment for Wick. And Rommel is really for our newest school to get an A. The other three of our schools scored B's, Barth, Merriman, and
Isn't that
Corey.
nice?
So we are really pleased with it, but particularly for Wick and Rommel, they've come a long ways, both those schools. So in your rounds, let people know what a great job they've been doing. It's been a great year. We've, academically, people worked their butts off, and as you know, and as you've seen, and just to echo what the transition for the high school to, we assume it all happens, but you all went to all those events, and a lot of work goes into it by Dan and his staff, and it's impeccable. They do a great job, and as Dan said, if everybody gets home safe, it's a major accomplishment. There was no problems this year, and it was a great job. Congratulations to Celeste.
Thank you. Anything else, board members? May I have a motion for executive session?
I would like to make an emotion that we convene into an executive session.
Support.
Alrighty. Mr. Cooter,
Yes.
Ms.
Mrs. Lassie?
Yes.
Ms. White? Yes. Mr. McCavich?
Yes.
Ms. Frayer?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley? Yes. Ms. Russell, yes.
Huh?